Previously on PogDaddy Enfield.
What the f***? And I didn't know what was happening, and I've barely been sleeping since my whipped upside down by a sweet. But that's gonna kill me! That's real!
Face your ass!
What the f***?
John PograNickelbackCena III is a man of focus, commitment, and sheer will. Contrary to popular belief and what many guides will tell you, support is not the only way to play him. In fact, Pogranichnik shines the most when he is the controlled operator and built to deal damage. And even when built as a damage dealer, he still brings a ton of utility to the team. He applies debuffs, provides team buffs, increasing the overall damage output of the entire squad while generating large amounts of SP. On top of that, he's one of the best controlled operators in the game. This is largely because of his main stat Will, which increases all forms of healing he receives. This gives you a lot of comfort, making cheap items heal you to almost full. He is an extremely capable 6-star operator blessed with everything. The only thing really holding him back in version 1.0 is the lack of truly optimal gear sets available to him. And that's exactly why playing him as just a support is massively underselling what he can actually do. So in this guide, I'm going to break down everything you need to know to get the most out of Pogranichnik. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to build him and why he's far stronger than most players realize. Let's start with gears. If you're building DPS Pogranichnik, you really only have two options right now: the Yinglong set or a stat-focused non-set build. I've tested a lot of gear combinations for Pogranichnik, and funnily enough, his best build is not even a set. And that actually says a lot, because if his strongest build already works without a proper set, it just means he'll get even stronger once we finally get an optimized offensive set for him. For skill priority, you'll eventually want to max everything out. But if you're wondering about upgrade order, it mostly comes down to personal preference. There isn't really a wrong choice here. That said, my personal priority order would be basic, ult, combo into battle skill. For mastery, I recommend to max out basic first, then M1 ult and M1 battle skill, before investing further into the other skills. This gives you a nice early boost to both damage and SP recovery. The reason why I prioritize basic attack first mainly comes down to how physical teams work. Physical teams tend to stagger enemies very quickly, and since we're running a stat-focused non-set build that doesn't boost specific skills, a lot of Pogranichnik's damage ends up coming from his basic attacks, mainly his finishers, simply because of the massive flat attack we have. But gears and skills only get you so far. What really determines how strong Pogranichnik feels is the team you run with him. After testing a lot of different team combinations, one lineup clearly stands above the rest. And by far the strongest team for him in version 1.0 and probably even in 1.1 is Pogranichnik, Li Fang, Chen, and Endmin, with Dapan taking second place, or possibly third depending on how Rossi ends up performing. Endmin is an extremely strong physical unit and, in my opinion, the better choice between the two. He provides both debuffs and team-wide buffs after using his burst, although properly utilizing those debuffs does take a bit of practice. Compared to that, Dapan mainly contributes his own personal damage. That's it. Now don't get me wrong though, Dapan is still very strong, but since Endmin can straight up out-damage Dapan while also buffing the entire team, he ends up providing more overall value to the team composition. And that's coming from someone who actually invested into Dapan. Man, what a waste. As for Rossi, by the time this video goes up, she'll still be a few weeks away from release, so we don't have her final numbers yet. That said, she'll most likely be a very strong unit that can slot into Pogranichnik teams. The main issue I see right now is that her combo skill requires Arts Infliction, and she also generates vulnerable stacks instead of consuming them. Why is that a negative, you ask? If you run Rossi with Pogranichnik, it likely means dropping Chen, since Rossi basically becomes the Chen equivalent for Rossi teams. And based on what we've seen in the devlogs, Ember might actually be her best partner, since Ember can apply both vulnerable stacks and heat stacks, which could also mean not running Li Fang. It's bad for me because it would mean dropping some of my invested unit. But the good part is that I could always run them on a different team, I guess. There are still a lot of unknowns, so it's probably better to revisit Rossi on a separate video once she's actually released. Looking at the other team variations I tested, most of them still revolve around the core trio: Pogranichnik, Li Fang, and Chen. The fourth slot is where things change, and that usually depends on what your team needs at the moment: more damage or more sustain. You can also run Estella and Alesh if you want. Their ult spam plus Estella and Li Fang's physical susceptibility stacking is very strong. Spamming ultimates leads to faster staggers, which means more Pogranichnik finishers. And more Pog finishers is always a good thing. I've learned a lot of different rotations for Pog teams, and honestly, it's kind of a headache. Every time you slot a different character into the fourth slot, the rotation usually changes quite a bit. The most brain-dead rotation though is definitely when you're running Ember or Snowshine. You basically just press whatever you want and watch it all work. But if I'm going to teach you a rotation, I might as well show the one for Pogranichnik's best team: Pogranichnik, Li Fang, Chen, and Endmin. And once you get this rotation down, Pogranichnik's damage becomes ridiculously consistent. All at the same time, the entire team's damage is absurd. So yeah.
I believe you are ready, sir.